I was out in Iowa City interviewing Caitlin Clark back at the end of October and kind of asked her what was going to go into her decision process. And one of the things she told me was that she was hoping to make the decision before senior.
Caitlin Clark was the league's golden girl a year ago. She was the face of the superstar who drew attention and filled stadiums. But she's had enough of the harsh, almost absurd actions of the ruling class after everything she's been through. Because you would also be incensed after witnessing firsthand the humiliation, dishonest cheating, racial epithets, and uncalled fouls that come with surviving in this league. She is also not remaining silent.
Clearly knew what she wanted to do, and I love it because I've been through a senior day. It's a really emotional experience. It's a great time to kind of say thank you to the fans.
And the situation has been exacerbated by ESPN's own foolishness. Clark's point is now quite evident. This time, she is advocating not just for herself but also for young girls who aspire to play basketball but are utterly ignorant of the challenging path that lies ahead.
I think those were two of my biggest goals. And then obviously college basketball has come true, and then hopefully the WNBA here very shortly. But I think as a young girl, I was super competitive, and my parents always knew that, and I was always somebody that was driven by goals, and I think that's kind of remained the same.
And let me give you the breakdown if you're unfamiliar with the details. We're talking about the WNBA Draft lottery, which takes place every year. New talent is drawn to the WNBA, which is essentially the best in women's basketball, from international leagues and colleges. However, don't think that teams can choose anybody they want.
You also look at her assist numbers. She's 6th all-time in assists. This year she's leading the nation in assists.
That would be far too easy, oh no. Rather, we have this absurd lottery system. Consider it a game of chance. Teams are fighting to salvage their depressed franchises from the basketball abyss, but the stakes are quite high. It's more than simply a game to them. It comes down to survival.
Caitlin Clark is the best offensive player that we have seen in the history of the women's college game. And then everything else that encompasses what she is doing in terms of growing the game. Things we've never seen on the women's college side, not only selling out all her home games, but on the road as well.
Why are you asking? Because getting a high draft pick has the power to change your life forever. You really need that first choice if your team has been a complete bust, winning just enough games to keep fans slightly interested. We're talking about the kind of choice that could lead to the next. Caitlin Clark is a player for these struggling teams who not only performs well but also lights up the scoreboard and renders your team inconsequential. It's comparable like finding a diamond after years of rock excavation. The only thing keeping their fan base from abandoning them, let's face it, is hope and the possibility of redemption.
We haven't quite seen a phenomenon in terms of the attention that Caitlin Clark is getting in the women's college.
Let's now investigate the real workings of this strange lottery mechanism. The fact that 4 clubs are fighting for the first choice is a little absurd, but it goes beyond how awful they were the season before. Not at all. To have a realistic chance, you must have been continuously terrible for the preceding 2 seasons. Don't celebrate just yet, though, as there are no promises. The Los Angeles Sparks have the best odds because they've had a few seasons that would make any ardent fan cry into their nachos. The actual drawing is done by a lottery machine. In essence, it is fate, but with a lot of sweating executives and 14 numbered balls, it is made into a sport.
It wasn't something I ever really thought about too much. I was aware of it just because of the media and that's what people would talk about a lot, but it was never something like, oh my gosh, I need to do this or I need to break this. It's kind of just something that has come.
Every team executive holds their breath and begs a higher power for their combination to show up when those balls start to bounce around. Then, only the top 2 selections are made in this way. And since hope is a delicate thing in this competition, you'll have greater luck the next year if you don't place in the top 2.
Look at the WNBA. They have been playing in front of 300 to 400 people a night for a quarter of a century.
But dreams are more important than luck. Teams clinging to the idea that a miraculous player may make all the difference and a pressing need for change. Consider Caitlin Clark, who came into the game and fundamentally altered the Indiana Fever's trajectory. All of the suffering teams are now crossing their fingers in the hopes of discovering their own redemption. In actuality, though, talents like Clark don't just show up in every draft. There is no guarantee that a pick that alters everything will be chosen, despite the lottery god's cunning. However, there is a glimmer of optimism that everything is worthwhile.
For somebody that don't watch WNBA basketball, to have women dunking on other women would definitely bring more excitement to that game.
Thus, don't believe that the sole purpose of the WNBA Draft lottery is to acquire new players. Instead, it serves as these teams' lifeline and a potentially life-altering emotional roller coaster. A desperate attempt to stay relevant, and sometimes the only thing keeping some franchises afloat after a few numbered balls decide their destiny.
We're only playing basketball to dunk? I'm not sure.
to dunk in basketball? Like, I don't know. Let's start with the Los Angeles Sparks in the 2025 WNBA Draft lottery, where desperation is virtually oozing from every team management. Do you remember the team's heyday, when they were a powerful force that stacked titles and dominated headlines? However, those days are long gone, and the Sparks are currently in serious difficulty with a record of 22 wins and a stomach-turning 55 losses this season alone. Their record over the last 2 years is worse than a game-ending turnover. In spite of a sad 32 losses, they managed an amazing 8 wins. Most likely, executives are kept up at night by this kind of performance. However, with only 9 victories and a heartbreaking 31 losses in 2024, the Dallas Wings aren't exactly flying high. Over the course of 2 seasons, their cumulative record is a dismal 31-49. Here's the worst part, though. It's essentially a desperate tie because they have the same odds as the Chicago Sky. In 2023, the Wings had a taste of the playoffs, but the excitement soon died down. They are currently back in the trenches, hoping for a draft miracle to ignite their franchise on its own.
No.
I mean, because listen, y'all are doing the step back, the pull back. Y'all doing everything we're doing, but I don't see a lot of people going up with 2 hands and, back.
Oh, it's coming. Opportunity is a.
So you don't think if we just
Opportunity is-
drop it to 9, 10
Nah,
and a half?
I guarantee
Flash?
Layla, she's into dance, but my next child will be drop step dunking.
Conversely, the Chicago Sky are not in any better form either. After going 31-49 in the last 2 seasons, they have a 22.7% chance of getting the first pick. And let's be honest, they are in dire need of it. They limped to a pitiful 13 wins and 27 losses in 2024. Although they did experience a brief run of postseason success in 2023, things have since fallen apart, and the Sky supporters are just one more disappointing season away from demonstrating in front of the front office. It all depends on a few bouncing ping-pong balls, and they need a player who can turn around this sinking ship.
So, the 2025 WNBA Draft obviously is headlined by Paige Bueckers. Paige Bueckers, one of the best players that there's been. Obviously, she kind of came out last year, but if she was in last year's draft, she would have been the number 2 to Caitlin.
One of the league's top players, Paige Bueckers, will surely dominate the 2025 WNBA Draft. She had the option to enter the draft the previous year, but she would have lost to Caitlin Clark if she had. The Washington Mystics, who concluded the 2024 season with 14 wins and 26 defeats and had a slim 10.4% chance of being selected first overall, are the team at the back of the line looking for a miracle. Just a year ago, they were contenders for the playoffs. However, they probably don't have much of a chance now that reality has set in. Nevertheless, let's face it, even they know they are facing a tough slope.
Yep. The Mystics with a 10% chance with number 1. LA with 2. We had Dallas at 3, Chicago at 4, and then obviously 5 through 12 are all the same.
And then the room. These teams most likely cringe at the mere mention of Caitlin Clark. Wow, she delivered when the Indiana Fever selected her first overall in 2024. By saving the Fever from extinction and turning them into a team that everyone wants to watch, Clark did more than just play, she changed the game. The bad news is that she won't be available in the 2025 draft, despite having the game-changing presence and superstar aura that every organization strives for. Lottery teams, I apologize. The Fever has already hit the jackpot, leaving the rest of the league to stare at an empty field. Salutations and best wishes for success with this next generation of talented people.
It means the Mystics can go for it. Like, the Washington Mystics getting Paige Bueckers means they can go out next year with a lineup of Paige at the 1, you've got Sykes and Atkins at the 2 and 3, who again, like the 3 of those players together will all be like, any of them can dribble the ball.
But the unpleasant reality is that the Los Angeles Sparks don't always have players like Caitlin Clark on the team. Dallas Wings, Chicago Sky, and Washington Mystics are all crossing their fingers in the hopes of signing someone who could have even half the impact that Clark did, even though that is doubtful. Now, every struggling franchise is unsure of whether they will be fortunate or forced to keep working in mediocrity. Because expecting another Caitlin Clark in the 2025 selection is like expecting a lotto victory, even if there will surely be stars hoping for that. We are all aware of the typical outcome of that. Clark raised the standard to the point where it could as well be in space.